Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm alright. Feels like we never left.
Yeah.
We're doubling up to get another Christmas episode in before Christmas. So this one will probably go out next Monday, and then I guess the other one will go out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because that movie I traditionally reserve for Christmas Eve. So as close to Christmas Eve as possible would be good.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I'll watch it twice. It would feel a bit weird watching it again a couple of days later. But,
yeah, I suppose so.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Before we start, I would like to make two changes to mistakes I made.
Okay. Is it
one? I made
Jennifer Lawrence starred in every film
no
ever made.
Yes. I'd like to make apologies to everybody.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence was first.
Absolutely. On everything.
Yes. No.
That's a given from now on.
So, two mistakes I made. One was when we were discussing Luther, I said Annie and I meant Alice.
Okay.
That one. And the other week when we did, the other day when we did the
Lethal Weapon
one, we were talking about Uzis.
We were.
And I said, I don't think they make them anymore. I'm not sure. I don't.
No.
You don't see them. No, they are very much still in production. They are still very much the top used gun.
Oh, really?
Around the world. Yeah.
I thought they'd been replaced.
They have not. No. Well, I think in a lot of the bigger countries, but still in a lot of the sort of African countries and places like that, it is still widely used.
It's an old gun, isn't it? It's been around a long time.
It's been around since the 50s.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously they've changed it since then a number of times.
Yeah,
and there are many iterations of it. But surprised me. But
there we go.
They are still making them. So there you go. Just a little.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Little changes.
So, do you want to go first, or shall I?
Why don't you go first?
All right, I've got a choice. Two horrors or an action. I will start with a horror. I think we'll sandwich the action in the middle. So I watched Smile.
Oh, that's been on my list.
Yes, it's been on my list too. Parker Finn directed. And starring Sosie Bacon, Jesse T. Usher, and Kyle Gallner. So effectively follows the story of a psychiatrist called Dr. Rose. She is meeting with a patient, a PhD student, who basically witnessed suicide. I think it's a suicide of her art professor or something.
Mm-hmm.
And since then she's obviously, she's not crazy. They're just kind of routinely checking up on her because she saw something so horrific take place. And I think you've probably seen it in the trailer,
isn't it, sort of thing?
Yeah. But I think you've probably seen it during the trailer, but in the course of that interview, she believes she sees something that isn't there. And then she kind of, her personality disappears and she goes kind of crazy and ends up slicing herself up and killing herself in front of Dr. Rose. Dr. Rose is then obviously brought in herself, and they're like, look, we're going to demand that you have a week off. You have to have a week off. You've been pulling crazy shifts as it is, and you need to process this, what's happened, because it's quite a brutal thing, that happens in front of her, because she basically slits her own throat. So the film basically continues on from there. It's a curse movie in the vein of very much in the vein of It Follows and somewhat The Ring as well.
Right.
It's kind of got that vibe. And I don't even know if it's a spoiler. I guess it is a spoiler. I'm going to say a spoiler in like 2 seconds time. So skip forward like 5 seconds if you want to avoid it from now. As soon as I watched this film, I was like, look, it's a curse movie. She's fucked. Because all of these movies end the same way. They're always fucked. Like, you get to the end and it's like, oh, they made it. And it's like, no, they didn't. Even if they make it, they never do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that even if they make it in the post credits, there's something just before the end, something will happen. Yeah. But it's a really well directed and superbly acted movie. Sosie Bacon, I think her name is, fantastic in this role. She is tremendous. Her facial expressions are incredible, and she's very believable in her kind of increasing insanity as the film goes on. As you watch this psychiatrist, the person who is usually the calm, collected one in the room, slowly lose her mind to this curse. And basically the curse, as I'm sure you've seen in the trailer, is that once you're, I guess, quote unquote, infected with the curse, you start seeing this smiling person. And it could be any person, but people in your life basically suddenly start smiling and then telling you that you're going to die soon, and they start kind of coming after you. You know, she at first is dismissive of this as a curse, but obviously the more things happen. One thing happens at a family birthday that's kind of absolutely can't be ignored, and then she's like, okay, this is something crazy's going on. And it's basically her investigation, much like The Ring. It's her investigation into the curse and the origins of the curse, and how to stop herself from, you know, breaking the chain of the curse, much like The Ring, where you've got like, hey, you need to tape the video and give it to someone to you know, it's the same sort of thing. It's like, what do I need to do to remove this curse from
that person? Or
that was It Follows, wasn't it? It was sleep with someone and then pass it on. Obviously, you know, subtext. But this film is very similar to It Follows, although it's not as silly. I thought It Follows kind of fell apart for me a bit when they were like, let's fucking kill the thing. Let's go to the swimming pool and electrocute it.
I actually really like that as an actual scene, though.
I like it as a scene. It was an effective scene. I think the thing with It Follows for me was that it was never scarier than when it was the naked girl at the start, the first time she sees it. That is a terrifying image. There's something about the cinematography and the you know, the whole look of that was really terrifying, and it's never scarier than in that moment. So it's almost like the first time I see the thing, I'm like, oh god, that's really horrible, and then from then on it's like diminishing returns, whereas here it's kind of always creepy. Like it's never not creepy.
Oh, okay, well that's good.
It's a very cool movie. I really enjoyed this one. It's like I said, it kind of is in the vein of, it's very similar to curse movies that you will have seen before. But I think the acting and the direction certainly kind of puts it up a notch. And it's got some really nice effects, some of them looking pretty practical as well from what I can see. I really recommend this one. This is a really good horror movie in a year full of really good horror movies. It's
got Robin Wiegert in it as well.
Yes.
Who I absolutely adore. Calamity Jane is one of my favourite characters in TV.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good movie. Really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend it.
That's a good start.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't put the picture up for that. It looks like this. There you go. What else? What have you watched, Matt?
So I will start with Pearl.
Okie dokie. So it's a prequel to X.
It is
a movie which I haven't had a chance to watch yet, but they've brought out another one. So
yeah. So basically, I suppose a few spoilers for X, which I didn't spoil at the time, I don't think. So I think it's been long enough, and most people probably know. So X was filmed during the lockdown, and this Pearl was filmed basically at the same time, and it's a prequel to X. So in X, it was about a bunch of young people who were going to film a porno in this bunkhouse in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
Yeah, I still haven't watched X, but the trailer looked really amusing.
It's
it looked
really
fun.
good, and it's I think it turned a lot of people off because it's not your standard slasher movie. Nothing happens murder wise until about an hour in.
You've reviewed it previously on the show.
Yeah, I mean it's I would say that it's more to do with, you know, the actual thing about getting older and
sure,
things like that. So Pearl is the the basically the main antagonist of X is Pearl. She's a very old lady in that. In this is her origin. So this is I think it's not 1918. It's set, and she's
Jesus Christ, she's very old in X.
yeah. So she's a young girl who lives with her mum and her dad, who are of German descent, obviously during the First World War, which is one of those sort of oh dear, and her dad, I think he must have had a stroke or something, so he's shut in. He's in a wheelchair, and he doesn't really move. Only his eyes move, and he makes the occasional noise.
Right.
And she basically looks after her dad, and her mother is, she's quite a hard woman. She's a very hard, practical woman. And Pearl dreams of being a star. She dreams of being on the big screen. She dreams of being a dancer. And she gets this opportunity where this group is coming to the church to hold auditions for us like a dance thing. So she wants to do that. Her mother obviously says no, but she's determined to go. You get she talks to herself all the time, and she clearly has a vivid imagination. She talks to her animals, and her animals are her audience. And then you see her murder a goose. So she's not quite right.
It's the first step towards psychopath, isn't it?
Yeah, she's clearly...
She's showing all the signs.
Yeah, she's clearly not quite the full ticket. So obviously I'm not going to spoil anything. But again, rather like X, nothing major happens for an hour. Really, it's mostly sort of building up the tension and building up our character. And for the majority of it, it's Maya Goth. She is fucking amazing in this movie. I personally think she's amazing in this movie. Her descent into madness and murder is really, really well done, I think. I've seen a lot of people say it's similar to the Joker. It's like a female version of the Joker. It's like, fine, if that's how you want to put it, fine, put it that way. I personally wouldn't, but why not? For me, it's more something in line of Psycho. It's got that more sort of, she's under the thumb of her mother, and she wants out. She wants to be free. She wants, to be beyond the farm, and she doesn't want to look after her dad. And there are some very creepy moments where she's in the bath and her dad's in the chair, and she's just there. It's very odd and very weird and really well done.
Yeah.
There is a scene towards the end where it's pretty much just Maya Goth's face while she talks, while she gives this sort of speech for like I think about over 5 minutes.
Right.
And I personally think it is beautiful. It is such a well done thing.
Well, that's it takes a very accomplished actor to deliver a monologue that long as well.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
And boy, does she deliver. The rest of the cast are all pretty good. I mean, they to be fair, they don't really get much to do, because unlike X, where it's all about the others as well, it's really just pure Pearl's movie. I mean, she's her husband is away fighting, so she's kind of it, and she seemed to have only really married him because she thought he would take her away, but then the war happened and off he went to and left her there. So there's all these little things that seem to be building up on her and just pushing her over, and she's just really, really good. And there's an amazing shot at the end, which wow, it's just, I'm not gonna spoil it, but wow, what a shot to end it with. I really like it. I think in a similar way to X, I think it's not going to be for everybody.
Sure.
I saw one review of it that said, this isn't a horror movie. You can't call it a horror movie if it's not scary.
Well, if we're going on that logic, there are a lot of horror movies that I don't find scary. In fact, most. So
I think
that's a very subjective bar as well.
Yeah, it's very subjective, and also there are degrees of horror. There are different of horror.
My favorite horror movies to watch generally are like, the first and second run of Universal horror.
Mm-hmm.
Silent movies and early sound movies. They're not scary at all by today's standards. So do they not count anymore?
Well, I guess
that's a silly. Yeah, sorry, I don't agree with that one.
That's silly. I would say it's more of it's certainly a character study, and a descent into madness.
Sure.
So it's that sort of horror. It's not jump scares and all that. It's not a kill every minute. So if that's what you're looking for, kind of like I think people were looking for with X, again, it's not that kind of movie.
Yeah.
I think these two movies are the best movies Ty West has done. They're really, really good. And there's going to be a sequel called Maxine, which is pretty much the main character from X, which is also played by Maya Goth.
So is that a sequel to X or a sequel to Pearl?
That is a sequel to X.
Okay, right.
Because it's already announced, so it's not like I'm spoiling anything. Maxine survives X. Okay,
Okay.
That's it's a bit of a spoiler, but the movie's coming out. And Maxine is spelt with 3 X's.
Of course.
Yeah. The woman who plays her
played
mother
by Vin Diesel.
She is indeed played by Vin Diesel. The woman who plays her mother, Tandy Wright, who I don't think I've seen in anything before, but she learned German apparently for this role, and well enough to fool 2 real Germans that were on set. So
that's impressive.
And she is really good as the mother who appears to be controlling and stifling. But there are some really great scenes between her and Pearl. That for me, that's what raises this just a little bit for just over X for me.
Yeah.
I love this movie a lot. I liked it, but I can see why people won't like it, because it does. The first hour slightly drags. It does feel a little long. I don't know whether they needed something a little extra or just something maybe whipped out, but it feels like it doesn't really feel like anything should have been taken, if you see what I mean. It just feels like it takes it too long to get to where it should be.
Okay.
Other than that, I think it's a brilliant movie. I really loved it. I think Maya Goth, for me is the best and brightest scream queen right now.
Yeah.
I think she's absolutely wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing her in Maxine and the movie that we'll discuss later on.
Yeah.
In the trailers.
Cool.
But I loved this movie. I thought it was great, and I highly recommend it. Especially if you liked X, I think this will be a really nice prequel.
Great. Well, I will certainly be watching that. I need to watch X first, but I will get round to both.
To be fair, you probably don't need to watch them in either order, really. But
I guess not.
It would help. Yeah. It would help. There's just some beautiful stuff in it that, really, really impressed me. I really liked it.
Cool. Well, I have watched Warriors of Future, which is a very Chinese-sounding translation of a film.
Yeah.
And it is, it's literally called Warriors of Future. I think it's called Virtus in China. I don't know why they changed it to Warriors of Future over here, but these things happen. Anyway, this one just appeared on Netflix and had a bit of fanfare for a few days, and then it's quickly disappeared and seems difficult to find now. It's kind of buried unless you search for it.
I saw the trailer and thought, oh, that looks really cool. I'm going to have to, give that a go at some point.
Yeah, so it's directed by Eun Fai. I think I butcher the bloody names if I try, but it's, I mean, it's a silly action movie, but it's a testament to what you can do with a silly action movie if you are competent at making silly action movies.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's a silly action movie that's well directed, well acted, got some great action set pieces, fantastic special effects.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for? Film opens with a massive exposition dump. I watched this a few weeks ago, by the way, so apologies if I'm a bit spotty on things. But it opens with a massive exposition dump. It's like 2055, and we've ruined the Earth. We use military robots, are like kind of rife and used in all wars, and we've caused global warming and pollution. We've destroyed the atmosphere, like the environment's fucked and everything's ruined. So everyone lives in these domes called Skynets, and they're like protecting the cities. They're like I guess they're shielding it from the harsh atmosphere outside of them. Right?
This feels a bit like Appleseed.
It kind of, so there are shades of Appleseed. There's also shades of XCOM, the video games.
Okay.
I played XCOM. That was the main reason I watched this, actually, because I saw the trailer. I was like, kind of looks like just XCOM.
That's one of those games that I always meant to play and never got round to.
Oh, I'm a big fan of UFO and XCOM as a kid. So, a big fan. So, anyway, they're building a Skynet over Hong Kong. And during that, a meteor lands in the city, and a giant alien plant starts growing.
Okay.
It's called Pandora. And it causes absolute devastation.
Really chosen some...
Dude, there's so much going on.
Names for things, haven't they?
And there's so much going on all at once.
Let's just choose names that will remind you of other movies.
Yeah, Skynet, Pandora.
Ow. You're not helping yourself.
Yeah. And so Pandora the plant starts growing everywhere. And like basically
Godzilla.
Sorry?
Are they going to call Godzilla?
No, it's not like Biolante. It's right. So basically, the crux of it is this thing's growing everywhere, and it's fucking killing people, and it's horrible. However, they have discovered that the plant is purifying polluted air.
Of course it is.
Yeah. So
it's an alien plant. That's what they do.
Exactly. So they're like, well, it's an alien plant and it's deadly, but at the same time, it's kind of helping the atmosphere. So their lead scientist basically finds a way to alter the plant's genome to stop it growing any further, but also allow it to continue repairing the atmosphere. Right?
Right.
So this is done by delivering a, quote, gene bullet, which is exactly what you think it would sound like. Just need to shoot the fucking thing. So anyway, they develop this thing, and they need a group of soldiers to go in because they believe that the machines, the military robots, won't have the response time, won't think things through, and they'll perform their task without thinking of the human casualties potentially from making a decision. So they've got this group of soldiers. They're like, I think, the last unit, one of the last military forces on Earth that's human. But obviously they've got like exosuits and whatnot, and they're basically sent in to deliver this gene bullet virus to neutralize the growth of Pandora. But obviously once they get there, the plant has developed, and there's creatures now that attack them. So there's a lot of creatures. This movie, I don't know if I text you. I text a friend of mine.
You text me and said it was great.
Did I? So I text my friend and I said, I'm like 20 minutes into. I think I was about 15 minutes into this movie, and it is ticked every stereotype possible. But it was glorious. You know what I mean? When it's just glorious. I was like, this is like ticking every bloody box that you can tick for a silly action movie.
Yeah, that sounded like Bullet Train. Bullet Train did
Yeah,
exactly the
sure.
same thing. It ticked every cliche, but
Yeah, every cliche
it
was
knows
ticked
it's
off.
doing it, and it was glorifying it in it. You know?
Yeah, it was just loving every minute of it. It is, and to be honest, I really enjoyed it. It's exposition heavy in places. There's a lot of stuff going on with the leader of the group going in and his daughter. It's all wrapped up in this story. It feels almost like, because there's so much exposition at the start, and then you kind of meet the characters halfway through a journey that they're on, and then at the end there's potentially more going on. It feels like you're watching the middle movie in a trilogy or something, but you're not. It's just this movie. But honestly, I had an absolute blast with this. It is not a brilliant film by any stretch. It is just a very competently made action movie, and these days that is getting rarer and rarer to find.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
It's unsurprisingly, the really good ones are mostly getting made in,
of course,
China,
Japan,
Korea. You know,
Korea.
Anywhere other than
East.
America.
Yeah, East for sure. And that's it. This you know, it's a real slick sci-fi action movie. Really good fun. Highly recommend it if you just want to, watch some things blow up. And
it's on my list, so I'm definitely going to watch it, because
there's a reasonably decent story, but
I like the trailer, so I thought I was going to give it a go at some point.
Exactly. I think I was just at home on a Sunday, and I was like, I just quite fancy watching something silly, and it was there.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually I remember it was because I had people were coming over to play board games, and they were coming in like, I was, when you get ready too early.
Yeah.
And I was like, everything's done.
I
was like, what do I do for like 2 hours? Yeah. And I was like, I'll watch that, So it was perfect for that. But yeah, if you're in the mood for a silly action movie that's really well directed, acted, and has tremendous special effects, then go for it. Highly recommend Warriors of Future.
Cool.
What else have you watched?
So I am going to go with Moondage Daydream.
Ah, yes, starring Bowie.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't do this very often, but this is obviously it's a documentary, or it's a biopic, really, in a sense.
You do have to say that in today's day, though, because there is always that off chance that some tasteless fuckers taken their likeness and chucked it on a CGI model and gone, hey, it's starring David Bowie.
I mean, I would imagine the Bowie estate would be pretty much on top of that quite quickly.
You would hope,
yeah. So this is directed by Brett Morgan, who previously done the Cobain montage of Heck.
I liked that.
Yeah, that's really good. And The Kid Stays in the Picture, which is really good. I don't know if you've seen that.
Not seen that.
That's really good too. So basically what he did with this is he went to sort of Iman, Bowie's wife, and said, I'd really like to do this, but I'd like to use all of, footage that either hadn't been seen or unused stuff that, just hasn't been generally put out. And I think at first she was a bit, anxious about it, and I think Barry's son, Duncan Jones, wanted to do one himself, but basically he'd come to the decision that he was too close to it, and he felt that he would make a mess of it, or right. I think he just was, in the end he wasn't comfortable with doing it, and Brett Morgan said, why don't I give it a go? And so basically he had access to all of the archive material,
right,
of the Bowie estate archive material. And what he's done here is he's put together, it's basically a series, the whole movie is just footage of either concert footage or footage of Bowie, walking around airports sometimes, or
right.
In interviews, and it's mostly done in Bowie's voiceovers from interviews he gave, or from talks he gave, or whatever. and it really it starts literally from the beginning, and it goes pretty much to the end. It's not going to be. It's not one of those biopics that tells you this is where he grew up, this is how he lived, this is who he met. It's not that sort of documentary. It's more of an experience. It's more of a feast for the eyes for Bowie fans.
Mm-hmm.
Rather like Sparks, the Sparks documentary, which I reviewed a while ago, which I loved. I would say it's probably for Bowie fans mostly.
Yeah.
I would say if you're interested at all in music, or and you're not a Bowie fan, but you're interested to see, because it does deal a lot with how he felt about life, and how life, his for want of a better word, his philosophy on life, and on how he, and how you see how his philosophy changed over the years, and what drove him, and what, in his own words. So obviously it's going to be a little bit biased on some things. So it's literally what he said. It's beautiful. It's got, like I said, whole bits that I've never seen before. There are lots of things that either haven't been seen for years, or literally have just not been seen. And it's really thoughtful. It's really contemplative, and it really does make you think about your own life and how you think of time, and what you do with it. And it for me personally, it did make me think, oh fucking hell, what am I doing with my fucking life? Why am I, what have I done? And but it's also hopeful as well. Bowie's, to me, is almost a walking god.
I find it hard to argue.
It's
yeah.
That sounds terrible. It shouldn't.
No, in terms of media, I agree. I mean, it's very rare that. Well, I mean, it has happened a few times, but someone it goes beyond just music and acting.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
Pure art. The man was just art.
Did everything. That's it.
Like walking art.
You see his art, his paintings, and they're all very.
He's probably one of the most artistic people that ever lived.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
honest.
People say, people call people icons all the time. There's somebody who says, "Oh, he's an icon of this."
It's
or he's
overused. Yeah.
Bowie was the genuine article.
I agree.
He genuinely, he had a career that spanned decades. And he, changed himself, and this does tell you why he changed himself, and what and what was going on in mostly in this. You can't know everything, but it does tell you, why he did certain things, and it's just beautifully done. I loved it. It's just full of music and beautiful visuals, and it has, he's mixed in lots of weird little clips from old sci-fi movies, or the original Frankenstein, or Metropolis, and Brave New World, and he's mixed in things that works. And at the beginning, there's even a little soundbite of Roy Batty's speech.
Oh, nice.
From Blade Runner. There's even a little bit of that, and it's all these little things that make up this guy's body of work, and it's like I said, if you're a Bowie fan, it's a complete must. It's truly a work of art. I think if you're not, if you really don't like Bowie, then this is definitely not for you.
Sure.
I think if you're at all curious about Bowie, or you're curious about Bowie's music, then this is a nice starting point. It goes through a lot of his stuff. It goes through obviously not everything, but it has a nice little chunks of periods that you get a nice little taste of each iteration, let's say, of Bowie, and it's beautifully done. It's a genuine piece of love. It's done with love, and it's done with real joy, and it's beautiful, and I absolutely loved it. But then I am massively biased. I will caveat with that. I am hugely biased. So, Bowie is one of my absolute heroes. But I would say give it a go if you're at all, curious about music and Bowie.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure I will watch it at some point. Love Bowie, so that's cool. Sounds good to me. Did you want to do? You've got two more of you.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Do you want to do another?
I can. Yeah,
because that was kind of a documentary. So
yes. So I'll go with Barbarian.
Barbarian. Now this is a film. It's definitely on my radar, and
Yeah.
I'm very curious because opinion is very split amongst my friends on this one.
Yeah,
love, hate. Literally love, hate. So I'm
so
very curious.
I've only heard mostly good things about this. So
I had, and then recently I started hearing a lot of negatives. So it's interesting.
That's it. That is interesting. I do find that interesting. So this is directed by Zach Krieger.
Sorry, I was going to say the most interesting thing is that the people that have disliked it have been the people I assumed would love it.
Right.
That has surprised me.
Okay. So it stars Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, Richard Drake. Brake. So basically, you're introduced to Georgina, who is at the very beginning. She's driving in a storm, and she's looking for a house number, and it's an Airbnb that she's booked in.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets to the door, the code doesn't work at first. Then she realizes it's the wrong code. She puts the right code in, but the keys aren't in the little cubby. So she sort of phones the company, gets no response because they're busy, and then a light goes on in the house.
Right.
So she knocks on the door, and Bill Skarsgård's Keith is there, and he's like, "What?" sort of thing, And they discover that he's booked the place from a different site, and there were lots of "this is fucking weird."
Sure.
Why is she going in the house? But then he tells her, she says, "I'm just going to go and find a hotel somewhere." And he says, there's some sort of medical conference or something going on. So all the other hotels are all booked. All of them are all booked.
Right.
So she goes in, and there are lots of red flags, but I guess to spoil something, they end up, he ends up not being a murderer. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
He ends up being fine, okay? A number of weird things happen in the night. Doors open by themselves, or seem to open by themselves. There are weird creaks. And in the next day, the main character, Tess, she discovers something in the cellar. And I guess kind of that's all I'll say for the main plot, really. Obviously, it's one of those sort of, there's something underneath the house.
Yeah, it's something living in the walls, something in
the
basement. Yeah, exactly. That's fine.
That's fine.
It's an overdone genre, but so are a lot of genres, and if you do it well,
it's
cool.
So Justin Long's character is introduced a little bit later into the movie.
Right.
How much do I say? Well, it turns out that he owns the property. Okay.
Right.
I won't give too much away, but there are stuff in it where, like, even the main character, when she first finds the sort of secret door, and she looks into this corridor, she literally goes, "Nope," and doesn't go in there.
Sensible.
But see, that's the thing. She does that, and then she spends the rest of the fucking movie doing the stupidest shit possible.
Oh, that's a shame. See, you were endearing me to your character for a moment there.
There were so many questions I have about this movie. Like, so the actual house itself is beautifully. It's like outside it's a little dirty, but inside it's lovely, and it's well kept, and it's well maintained. Every other house on the road is destroyed. They're fucked. It's like
Right.
fucking. It's Detroit, basically, right?
Okay.
So it's one of those little places in Detroit that is just everybody's gone. There's no one else there. But this house seems to be perfect, and it's on a Airbnb. They never really explain how it's on or why, and even the guy who owns it doesn't really know.
Okay.
I mean, you could say that he just bought a property, didn't look at it. I kind of get that because of his character. That's fine, I guess. But there are so many questions about what's going on in this movie, and so many times where characters do stuff where I'm like, no, why? And and the police turn up. And look, it's a horror movie. I know I love horror movies. I am well aware that with a lot of horror movies,
there is a massive genre of horror movies that make no fucking sense whatsoever, and that is fine.
Yeah, I'm aware that there's a certain part of your brain that you have to go. I'm just gonna lock that down. For
Italian horror.
Yeah, oh god, Italian horrors are. But the thing I love about Italian horrors,
it's always quite dreamy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're kind of like.
It's almost like a fever dream, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think, and sometimes, there are stuff that they're made so that you can read in things.
Yes, absolutely.
This movie isn't that.
No, right, okay.
It's I don't understand the hype for it. Actually, it's not doing anything new, so it's not that. I don't actually think it's even doing anything that well.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not,
because this film has been really hyped.
I'm not gonna. I mean, the actors in it are all great. You know, it's Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, and I mean, I've seen George Campbell in a few things, and I think she's a fine actress. But Bill Skarsgård does say this line, which is fun. I mean, they clearly intended it. There's a bit where he's talking to Tess, and he says, "What did you think I was, some kind of monster?" And you just think, oh, okay, they fucking knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
that,
sure.
That's a very sort of almost on the nose fucking line there. I mean, it's not that it's not a bad movie. I just don't think it's a terribly good one.
And that's fine. Like I said, interestingly, I've heard that. So yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to spoil it, so I'm not going to sort of go into sort of details. But there's nothing in this movie that hasn't been done better in others. In other sort of something's in the walls, something's under the house movies.
Yeah,
it's been done much better before. I don't. Maybe it's because there just isn't enough good stuff around at the moment, and people are just latching onto anything. For me, it didn't.
I don't know. I was thinking
I think
about
horror is one of the genres that's been doing well during the pandemic.
I was going to say, and I do feel like we're obviously coming close to what will be our sort of top 5, top 10 movies of the year, and I think for horror, we've done all right this year.
Yeah,
to be honest, I'm not desperate for horror. I'm doing quite well with it, to be honest. So.
So I don't really understand the love for this movie. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, but it's not a great movie. The performances are great. It's filmed pretty well, but it didn't do anything for me. It was just, oh, okay, that's what that is. That's what that. If anything, it just makes you. Sometimes times it feels like, oh, this is a setup for something else. Then,
right?
It's this. There's a couple of lines, and I'm not going to.
Is it sequel baiting?
Well, yes, I would say, but not weirdly, not overtly. I think it will get sequels. It would, because of what is under the house. But there's a couple of lines that make you go, okay, so, oh, do I? Okay, I'm going to spoil one of the things.
Okay.
So if you don't want to know what the spoiler is, there's a character that turns up, and he talks to Tess, and I won't spoil that. I'll just say he says um, the thing that you've seen under the house, right? He says he talks about it, and then he says that's not the worst that's down there.
Right.
So that makes you think, oh, when do we get to see that?
Uh-huh.
When are we going to see the other things that
are you
going to
tell me that you never do?
And you don't.
Okay.
Unless it was talking about this one specific thing, and I thought, well, yeah, okay, that's horrible, but that's not kind of what you meant, is it? So there's, again, I'm not spoiling it too much, but that it was a little spoiler, but it just made me think, oh, that just makes me think, oh, you were setting something up, but you haven't done anything with it. So is there going to be a sequel where it?
Yeah.
And there are just so many stupid fucking things in it. I mean, at one point the police turn up, and I mean, these aren't human beings. They're not real people. It's I mean,
okay.
I know. Like I said, it's a horror movie. You're supposed to switch certain bits of your movie. I mean,
yeah.
I don't say that on all horror movies.
No, but there is certain genres.
Of horror movies, I think you're supposed to.
And to be fair,
give it a little leeway. This one I couldn't.
And to be fair, of a lot of those genres where you do have to switch part of your brain off,
yeah,
people living in the walls or in the basement is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Especially when people move into houses. I'm like, you know there's fucking surveys and shit done on houses before you move in, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, this doesn't,
that's like... The whole, for me, this whole house thing doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't, I mean, maybe there is an explanation, they just didn't give it. I mean, you're supposed
Possible.
Okay. It just didn't do it for me. That's
fair enough. That is fair
it left
enough.
with far too many questions, and it wasn't, like you said with the Creature in the Wall movies, they have to be enjoyable. There has to be something that...
Oh, for sure.
So, some of those, let's say, like Castle Freak or something.
Oh, yeah.
So they're so over the top.
Yeah.
That you kind of enjoy it because it's that silly, and this kind of wants to be that.
Or you get the
silly, and it wants to be over the top, but I don't think it handles it very well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a miss. I didn't, it's not the worst horror movie, but it's also just didn't do enough for me to for me to enjoy it.
Well,
the performances were there, but the movie itself was meh.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I have heard the same, but then I've also heard like universal praise. So yeah, it's interesting.
I've so much praise for it, and I honestly don't get it. Don't understand why it seems to be getting so much love.
On my way out the Netflix door, because I'm bored, unsubscribing, going to subscribe to Shudder or something for a bit. as I do, I cycle on. I cycle on my streaming things, and Netflix is getting a bit dull. But obviously I saw Warriors of Future, and I also saw a horror movie that I didn't realize. I guess it came out earlier this year and I missed it. Incantation.
Okay.
A Taiwanese found footage movie. And this is found footage done extremely well. Now, obviously, the caveat: I enjoy found footage. I know a lot of people hate it. So that's
found footage is one of those genres that, I think it has to be well done, or
this I think is very well done.
It's just bad.
Yes, yeah. This I actually think is very well done. It uses a mixture of found footage, which I always think is the most successful way, where you get like handheld footage, dash cam footage, security camera footage, and it kind of cuts between all the different things to tell its story. And I've always thought those are the more kind of successful than the like, why are you still holding the camera situations? They can cut to security footage, and it's like, okay, that kind of works.
I love Cloverfield, but there are times where you just
Cloverfield's so ludicrous.
Why are you still why are you still filming this, you fucking lunatic?
Yeah. I mean, they kind of got away with it with the first Blair Witch, where they kind of made out like she's mentally broken, and like that filtered reality is the only thing that's kind of keeping her going, but it's tenuous.
I fucking hate that film.
I like it, but I, you know, it is a nonsense. There you go. There's a horror movie where you have to just throw a lot of logic out the window. I just threw the map away.
That's another movie.
Okay, you just threw the map away. That's good. Yeah. Well done. So yeah, there are films like that. So anyway, this film is kind of opens with a narration from Lee Ronan, who is the kind of lead of the movie, and she's talking about memorization and incantations and curses and whatnot, and we kind of events jump back and forth in time, so you kind of end up at the end, and not right at the end, but she's sort of talking about how she came to be cursed, and then we then see how she became cursed, and we also see the results of the curse. So it's it basically involves a group of ghost hunters. They've got like a YouTube channel or whatever, and they film, you know, haunted places. And they go in where this crazy.
Well, that's a lot of the found footage ones get ghost hunty ones, aren't they?
Well, this one's not really. Kind of is, kind of isn't. But effectively, they've 6 years ago they have, for their YouTube channel, or whatever online video channel, they went to this remote village, and her Ronan's boyfriend, I think, has a relative there, and they turn up, and they're basically all worshipping this deity. They call I think it's called Mother Buddha or something like that.
Kanye.
And effectively they have to submit their names with an incantation and whatnot. But basically these they fuck up.
Right, okay.
They spy on the clan performing the ritual, the group performing the ritual and whatnot, and they discover this young girl who's preparing to sacrifice herself.
Okay.
And she's kind of covered in runes and whatnot, and she's basically left in front of this tunnel, and ultimately they kind of sneak around later, and they realize that she's in the tunnel, and they think they can hear her kind of calling from the tunnel, so one of them breaks in, and ultimately this is what releases the curse. And the majority of the film, it kind of flashes back and forth between this, so this is kind of revealed throughout the movie, and at the end you kind of see the result of this event where they went to get it. The bulk of the movie, though, basically follows Lee Ronan and her daughter Dodo, and this is probably the strongest thing of the movie. Their relationship is totally amazing. The actress playing Lee Ronan and the little girl playing Dodo are fantastic. And Dodo is like, I don't like kids. She's like the most adorable kid. Do you know what I mean? So like, she's so adorable to where you're like, oh, I really want her to survive. And this movie gets quite dark in places where it is like, hey, there's a child that's maybe gonna die, and horrible things are happening here, and it really helps when you really want them to survive. You really want to see the girl survive, but basically this kind of curse or spirit is kind of speaking to Dodo, and basically gradually Dodo kind of I don't know how much to say. Over time, Dodo basically develops a debilitating kind of illness, and Lee Ronan's got these obviously mental health issues, and all of this curse is kind of starting to kind of manifest in a really creepy way. And there's a lot of really, really creepy stuff in this movie that I thought worked really well. I think it's one of those things where it depends what works in your brain for horror. And one of the things that works for me with horror, for some reason, Eastern horror always gets me way more than Western horror. And I think it might just be because it's different to the horror I grew up with, if you know what I mean. I'm very desensitized to Western horror. Eastern horror, I only really discovered Eastern horror, I guess, with Ringu. Like 99 or 2000, whenever it made its way over here. That was my first... Well, I mean, Tetsuo. But...
Well, I was thinking, my probably Onibaba, probably.
Okay, yeah. But so it really, that kind of style of horror really works well with me, and here they've kind of married that with found footage. This film does a very good job, a lot like Invisible Man did, the remake of Invisible Man, with showing you nothing. Like it'll, like some, the camera will just be
like empty spaces.
Empty space.
Where you're just there. They're going,
sometimes there might be something.
Somewhere?
Oftentimes there is nothing, but you're always looking. And what this film does really well, in the same way that Ringu did really well, is that building tension and building unease, that feeling of unease kind of building throughout the film and kind of crescendoing towards the end.
Well, I think they're not afraid to spend the time.
No, exactly.
And I think a lot of Western movies want the next jump scare. They want the next, so they're not prepared for the build up.
Absolutely.
Not well enough anyway.
This film is prepared to spend the time to build that tension. There's a lot of scenes where things are not a lot's happening necessarily, but you're feeling that tension building, and you get those shots where someone might drop a camera or something and it will just sit there on the floor for a while, and maybe something happens, maybe something doesn't. It's really effective. It's really effective. It's one of the more effective found footage movies in my opinion.
The pictures look like you've got somebody dressed as the Monkey King. Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool visuals in this film, and I think it's held up very well by the acting. The guy in it as well. I forget the character's name. I watched this weeks ago now. But he's also fantastic. They're all trying to kind of stop the curse, from affecting Dodo and Ronan. But yeah, it's a really, really fun movie. I think, like I said, I if you don't like found footage, I don't know if it's going to convince you.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the stronger found footage films I've watched in recent years. I think it's really effective. It's got that Ring-like building of tension. So weirdly, the two horror movies I've watched brought for this show this week have both been very Ring-like curse-related films, and that's just by pure accident. But yeah, there you go. Really fun movie. I don't know. It apparently came out in March. I'd never seen it before. It just suddenly turned up in my my Netflix list. Don't know.
I hadn't seen anything for that, so I'll definitely.
It's worth a watch. It's definitely worth a watch.
I'm not the biggest fan of the found footage genre, but
I think it's one of the more.
There are certain ones that I do like. I actually do like Cloverfield. I think
Cloverfield's fun.
It works. It works well enough for me. I don't like the Blair Witch Project, but I actually thought the other one was better. The
Blair Witch.
No. The one that was actually came out before Blair Witch.
McPherson tapes.
No.
McPherson tapes, I think, is superb. Actually.
What was it bloody called? I can't remember what it's called, but there was
Cannibal Holocaust.
I actually thought that was no, not that. I've never really got the cannibal movies.
No, we've talked about this before. I went through a phase a couple of years ago when I bought and watched like fucking million of them, and I don't really know why, because they were all pretty terrible. Varying degrees of of rubbish,
Uh,
in my opinion. Anyway,
I guess Cannibal Holocaust is one of those movies that you kind of, as a
you
horror
have to have seen it.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to see it.
I
Really.
don't really know that it's found footage. It's kind of vaguely found footage.
It's sort of.
I kind of think McPherson tapes, it might be the one that really kind of defined the genre, and then obviously Blair Witch popularized it.
Yeah.
McPherson tape's really fun though. That's kind of like a real low budget student-y thing.
The sci-fi, the superhero one was quite good.
Oh, that begins with a C. I want to say.
Always get the name of that fucking movie.
Me too. What is that? Oh, that's annoying me now. That is quite a cool movie.
Yeah, and I like the fact that the way they explained the camera just floating around them was because their powers did it.
Yeah,
which is like, fine, all right then, okay.
Well, and it was the first movie where they were like, you know, if you can move things with your mind, you've effectively got most superpowers.
Yeah,
like you've got super strength if you can use your mind that strongly. You can fly if you've got that quite, you know, that power strong enough. Oh, I'm really struggling to think of the name of that now. That was a really fun movie.
I'm looking up Dane DeHaan because
Chronicle.
Chronicle, there it is.
I knew it began with a C.
Oh, just because I'm looking up Dane DeHaan because I know he was in it. Chronicle. There was something about that fucking title. My brain never remembers it.
Yeah, same. It always escapes me.
I think Chronicle's great.
Yeah, good fun.
And that was, you know, one of the early Josh Trank movies, which I quite like. I mean, he kind of ruined himself with Fantastic Four, but I thought that was really good, that one. I actually started it was on TV the other day, that Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, I've
never seen it.
Oh, no, I did watch it. I did. I forgot about that. I did watch it. It's terrible.
Yep.
I did watch it because they're like a military experiment, aren't they?
Yeah.
I have seen it.
Honestly, watching it, I was like, wow. I sort of woke up. I was literally like, oh, that's a really good sign. If I didn't sleep.
You probably had a
I
better
haven't
time
fallen asleep during a movie for ages, and that says it all, really.
Yeah. Anyway, what else have you watched?
So, last movie, I mean, I kind of had to do it, really. It's you know, it's traditional for me to.
I usually do, but I didn't.
One Christmas movie, so I bit the bullet and watched Your Christmas or Mine. Oh, so it stars Asa Butterfield, Cora Kirk, Daniel Mays, Angela Griffin. It's also got.
So you couldn't face Lindsay Lohan.
Do you know that was
that was the competition,
list.
Wasn't it?
It is on my list, and I was sort of, do I go for it? Because I know it's going to be awful.
Oh God, yeah.
Probably going to enjoy it a little. I've got this thing for Lindsay Lohan. It's a sort of sadness because she was so amazing.
Such a promising career. She really did.
She was one of those. I mean,
it's just a tale of child celebrity, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think the difference for me in this one is with all the other sort of child actor ones, you kind of it happened. You know what I mean? Like most of them happened. This one, we kind of saw it in real time.
Yeah, you definitely saw that decline in real time.
Of my age and that, and her age, and you literally saw it happening almost like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because she's not a bad actress.
I thought she had a really strong career early on, and I enjoyed quite a few of her movies. I was dating someone at the time that loved a lot of the kind of rom-coms that she was in. So I saw a lot of those movies where her kind of peak.
Yeah.
And I always thought she was really good. But it is good to see that she's making stuff again now. Maybe she's sorted herself out and she's doing better for it.
So that was kind of on my list, and I probably will watch it.
Sure.
Anyway, just to scratch the Christmas itch. But now I thought, this one looked fun. This one looked at least fun enough, and I like Asa Butterfield, and the other one that I was going to say was in it as David Bradley, which is it's like. I love David Bradley as well, even though he's got a tiny, small part in it. It's like, hey! So, we are introduced to James and Hayley, and they are a relatively new couple, it seems. They've probably been going out for, they do say, but I can't remember, a few months, less than a year, I think. And it's Christmas, and they've been spending all their time together. They're both on a I think it's an acting course, and they are going to their separate homes for Christmas. So Hayley's going to, I think it's Macclesfield, to be with her family, and James is going to I can't remember where the bloody hell it is. It's somewhere down south, I think. But obviously posh. So when they're on their separate, they're about to get on their separate trains. One, Hayley's on the train, she's going to go home. He's about to get on his, and they suddenly think, they had a conversation. They say, well, I wish we could have spent Christmas together. And they both have the same idea. Why don't I surprise them by turning up at their place?
Sure.
So they get off their trains and they swap trains without seeing each other. So he goes to Macclesfield and she goes to wherever the bloody hell he ends up. He lives, and of course he turns out to be the son of a lord, who has been lying to his father, and his father thinks he's at military academy. And she lives with this sort of very chavvy working class family who are all lovable, slightly dodgy characters. Her dad sells turkeys out of a ice cream van. The dad's played by Daniel Mays, who I love Daniel Mays. He's played really good sinister characters and some really good lovable comedy characters. I really like Angela Griffin as well, who plays Hayley's mother. Again, it's a Christmas movie. I think I've said before when I watch Christmas movies, it's another one of those things that you shut your brain off for and you just enjoy it as a fun, silly, idea of because it's a Christmas movie. It's not telling you anything spectacular. It's not going to give you anything, brilliant and profound. What it is, it's actually a very sweet, pretty well made.
That's all you want.
Nice Christmas movie. I really
tolerance for shit at Christmas goes way, way up.
Yeah.
If it's a Christmas movie, you're like, it's fine. It's Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
There are certain Christmas movies that are fucking awful. There are certain Christmas movies that, like It's a Beautiful Life.
You need to watch Christmas in Handcuffs.
Christmas in Handcuffs.
I've mentioned this before.
Which one's that?
It's the one with Melissa Joan Hart. I've told you about this movie.
Oh yes,
it's like my number one Christmas movie that I've discovered, and it's awful and it's brilliant.
On my list because I love Melissa Joan Hart.
She doesn't have a boyfriend, and she's going home to her parents, who are really disappointed that she doesn't have a boyfriend. So she kidnaps one with a flintlock pistol in 2018 or something, and it's amazing. It's so bad, it's amazing.
I have a soft spot for those movies.
Yeah.
And
Melissa Joan Hart, by the way, makes about 5 Christmas movies a year. So
that seems to be the bulk of her.
Yeah, that's what she does now.
And the occasional religious one.
Do you know what I was saying the other day though? I feel like if I was an actor, which I am not trying to be. If I was an actor and I made like one movie that was really successful, and then for the rest of my life I just made Christmas movies, I reckon I'd be really happy with that.
I mean, it depends how bored you would get, though.
I guess there's just something really sweet about Christmas movies,
Yeah.
I know someone that actually has written Christmas movies, and it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Like the kind of cookie cutter Christmas movies where they're like,
I think
there's really strict rules around what they'll allow and not allow and stuff.
There are certain beats you have to hit.
Yeah. It's like really boring for a writer because they just have to stick to the formula.
Yeah, and this movie does all those.
Sure.
It's got all the oh no, they're going to break up. Oh no, the other boyfriend turns up. Oh no, he didn't know about that. Oh no, she didn't know that he was a lord. Oh,
But as a viewer at Christmas, it's like a blanket, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
comforting because
it is.
you know you're not going to see. She's not going to end up getting beheaded or anything. It's just
Yeah,
going to be.
yeah.
It's just going to be the same thing you always see. But that's fine.
Asa Butterfield and Cora Kirk are delightful.
Good.
They're lovely, lovely. I mean, they're not really kids. Asa Butterfield's not a kid anymore. He's a kid to me, but they're lovely kids, and they've got a great supporting cast. The guy who plays
Kirsten Dunst is still a kid to me. It's weird.
Oh no, I've
when
come,
you see people grow up, I'm like, oh.
I've come. Kirsten Dunst is fine because I like Lindsay Lohan. I've seen her move along, so I've seen her movies go along as she's gone along. So I'm accepting of her.
I always find it weird when you've seen someone as a child and then you're like, oh no, this is weird. You're an adult now.
There are certain actors that it does feel weird. Actually, there's a weird one. So this latest series of Strike started last weekend.
Right.
Which is the detective show.
Okay.
It's a detective show. The books are written by J.K. Rowling.
Okay. And
it's got what's his name? Burke is the main guy. I really like him. Hang on, give me a second. Tom Burke.
Okay.
Tom's the main character in Holiday Granger. So he's basically the son of a rock star who joined the military, became a military policeman, got injured. He's got like one leg, and now he's a sort of down at heel detective in London. And I really like them. They're really good. But as a weird aside to what we're talking about, Sophie Ward was in this season. She's the client this season. Sophie Ward. I was sat there. I was looking at her and I was thinking, I know that woman. Where have I seen that woman? She is the young girl in Young Sherlock Holmes.
Oh wow! Okay,
and that was weird. Seeing it's oh my god, that was like wow. And she was also one of the Mombi heads in Return to Oz.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, oh my god! It's like you know when you see an actor and you there's a kernel of like, I know you from somewhere. I know you.
Yeah, I recognize you.
Like when it twigs, you're like, fuck.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was one that was for me that was like, oh wow. I do recommend Strike. If you like detective shows.
Sure.
It's really good. It's a really really good show. So yeah, Your Christmas or Mine. Give it a go.
Chuck it on the Christmas pile.
Movie. It's a fun nonsense. Alex Jennings is the guy who plays Asa Butterfield's dad's dad, and he's one of those very posh actors who's been in like he played Prince Charles and the Queen and things like that.
Okay.
And, he's one of those very posh lord-like actors who, again, he's exactly his role. He's the grumpy military dad.
Yeah. There's always one of the couple has to be grumpy or disenfranchised somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you've got the other parents who are all about Christmas and all about family.
Yeah, and he's forced into a situation. He hates Christmas, but he's going to be forced to celebrate it with these people. Exactly. And then he'll discover a love for Christmas by the end.
Exactly. It's all that, in a big Christmas bow.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie. It's just an enjoyable Christmas movie.
Sure. Well, that's fine.
And the two leads are charming. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's all of the movies.
That is.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we bugger off?
So first off, we should mention Kirstie Alley.
Yes, of course.
71, who sadly died of cancer. I absolutely adore Kirstie Alley. I think she was a wonderful actress, wonderful lady.
Yeah, as an actress, I mean,
I was always upset when they replaced her as a.
Cheers.
No, in Savok.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I thought
she was great. Yeah.
Yeah, and Cheers is the where I think I first probably saw her in Cheers. Well, no, probably would have been.
I think it's the first place I ever saw her. I think
and I did watch things. What was that sitcom she did that? afterwards. Oh, Veronica's Closet. I remember watching Veronica's Closet, and apparently I only watched the first season of Scream Queens, and I didn't watch it all.
Right.
But apparently she was in that recently, so she was still
acting.
Doing great. I have a soft spot for Look Who's Talking.
Yeah, I do as well, actually.
And I
haven't watched that movie for years, but I remember really enjoying it.
I think the first one might hold up. I'm not so sure about the rest.
Yeah, Look Who's Talking 2, nah.
The one with the dogs is that the third one?
Look Who's Talking Now. God, well, I know the name of them. I don't know why.
Yeah. I think I saw that once, and that was enough.
Yeah.
But the first one, I think, probably still holds up.
I imagine so. I don't know that I want to find out, but I feel like it probably will.
Yeah, maybe not. Condolences all around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what else have I seen? So I mentioned I sort of got you to watch it. The trailer for the latest Brendan Cronenberg movie.
Looks fantastic.
That looked interesting, doesn't it?
Incredibly well directed. Even in the trailer, you're like, this looks really well made.
His last movie, Possessor, was one of my movies of the year when it came out, and I really loved that movie.
About halfway into the trailer, I was thinking, it's really well shot. I'm not getting a Cronenberg vibe, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, now it's very much a Cronenberg movie. Now. Yeah, okay.
So I thought that looks really
yeah.
I recommend everybody watch
absolutely, definitely watch that trailer.
Studio Ghibli has confirmed that it will be there is a new movie next year.
Oh, cool.
It is called. Oh no, I can't find. Where is it called? Oh, why can't I find where it's bloody called?
I don't know.
I can't find it. That is really annoying.
I don't know. Whatever. There's a film coming out next year by Studio Ghibli. Cool.
Oh, so, here we go. So it might change, but at the moment it's reported as How Do You Live?
Okay.
So
any details on what it's about?
No.
Okay.
Possibly there's a picture of a bird-like creature, so I'm not quite sure what. But it's going to be traditional animation again.
Excellent.
And it's good because it's Miyazaki, and we thought after The Wind Rises it's probably going to be his last one, but no, he's back at it, which is good.
That's great.
Really, really happy with that. E24 has released a new poster for Ari Aster's latest movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Beau is Afraid, or Beau is Afraid, and all it is a poster of a kid in pajamas. It stars Joaquin Phoenix. That's not who's on the cover, but I guess that's the same character. That's kind of it. That's all the details we have at the moment. But I love Ari Aster, so I'll watch whatever he puts out, really.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, we will be back. What day is it today? It's Fridays we're recording this, so I think this will go live on Monday. So we will be back later this week, as you're hearing this, with our review of Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
The most Christmassy of Christmas movies. The I don't know, certainly amongst me and my friends, the absolute staple must-watch Christmas Eve movie. So it might be a generational thing, but
it's certainly one that I watch every year.
Yeah, every Christmas Eve.
It's right there with Gremlins and Die Hard.
yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, maybe, if you're feeling that way inclined.
And these days, it seems to be, I tend to watch Love Actually and the Holiday.
Sure.
Seems to be one that I tend to watch every year as well.
Well, I will certainly be watching A Christmas Story again, but that will not be Christmas Eve. I think that'll be sooner than Christmas Eve.
Still get to watch it. I have never seen it.
I'm really curious what you think of it when you actually finally see it. It's a really fun movie. I thought it was really funny.
The weird thing about that movie is that I just never got round to it. It's not that I'm actively avoiding it.
We discussed this. Pretty sure it never got released over here as like a theatrical thing.
It must have been on TV.
Yeah.
Over here, but I've never seen it. I don't know whether England never made a fuss of it. It never seemed to spark over here. I don't know anybody who's like a really big fan of it over here. In America, it's entirely different. It's one of their Christmas staples. But I kind of always wanted to give it a go. I just not got around to it, and so maybe I'll bite the bullet this year and actually.
I recommend you check it out. It's a fun movie.
Because they've done a sequel this year as well, haven't they?
Apparently so, yeah.
Which, from what I've heard, is okay. It's not bad. Which sometimes is all you can ask for. It's not awful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be really curious to see what you think of it. But in any case, we will be back later this week with our our next final Christmas episode, Muppets Christmas Carol. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.
Merry Christmas.